All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're breaking down exactly how you can use mathematical trading strategies to grow a starting bankroll of just £200 into over £1,500 and do it in exactly 7 days. Now, I know that sounds like a bit of a gimmick, but listen, today we are unpacking a highly methodical, step-by-step framework drawn straight from our source material. This is absolutely not about getting lucky. It's about treating your capital like a tool and deploying it with absolute precision.
Most people look at sports betting as pure gambling, right? It's based on a gut feeling or just hoping your favorite team pulls through. But today, we're going to reframe that completely. We're looking at how strategic capital deployment and positive expected value can basically eliminate luck entirely. So, while a traditional gambler is sitting there crossing their fingers, a mathematical trader is actively engineering situations where the actual outcome of a sports event literally doesn't matter.
Okay, here's our roadmap for today's explainer. 1. The 7-day bankroll plan. 2. Days 1 and 2, easy wins. 3. Days 3 to 5, scaling up. 4. Days 6 and 7, maximum upside. And finally, 5. Math over luck. We're taking an escalator approach here, starting with harvesting those easy sign-up bonuses and peaking with a really fascinating mathematical loophole in the football markets. So, Section 1. The 7-day bankroll plan. Turning £200 into £1,500. Let's dive right in and lay out the primary objective for our working capital. Now, we aren't aiming for £1 million overnight here. We start with £200 on day 1, push that to £600 by day 3, reach £950 on day 5, and finally cross that £1,500 mark on day 7. It's a very calculated, escalating process. But to actually achieve this growth without gambling, it all comes down to the back and lay technique. This is the foundational mechanism we use to effectively bet against ourselves and strip away the risk entirely. Basically, if you place a back bet for a team to win at a standard bookmaker, you immediately jump over to a betting exchange and place a lay bet against that exact same team winning. By perfectly matching these odds, you've created a completely neutral position. Neither team winning nor losing impacts your wallet. The crucial point here is that by following these 3 precise steps, backing, laying, and then triggering the bonus, we're really just trading numbers to unlock bookmaker promotions. We're definitely not doing this for the thrill of the game. We're doing it to unlock free bets and sign-up bonuses, and then we turn those promotions into retained withdrawable cash at around an 80 to 90% clip. Moving on to Section 2, Days 1 and 2, easy wins, harvesting the low-hanging fruit. Let's look at our first execution phase and see how this actually builds in the real world. So by systematically opening accounts with major, well-known brands and using that back and lay method we just talked about, we can quickly harvest what is essentially free money. When we look at these initial offers, 30 here, 50 there, we can easily accumulate $210 in sign-up bonuses. This rapidly pushes our initial $200 bankroll right up toward the $450 mark. Now, in those first 48 hours, your actual sports knowledge? Totally irrelevant. Your biggest bottlenecks are simply the age of your accounts and your tiny bankroll. Speed is the absolute priority here for sure. To turn over these initial bonuses fast, we use chaotic, fast-paced events like horse racing, which literally happen every 10 minutes. This lets us rapidly cycle our limited funds and clear those bonuses out without having to wait 2 whole hours for a football match to end. Section 3, Days 3 to 5, scaling up, extra places, and best odds guaranteed. Okay, so our initial bankroll bottleneck is finally easing up a bit. We now have enough working capital to start deploying funds into slightly more advanced, multi-layered strategies. And that brings us to a highly lucrative strategy known as the extra place. Now, this requires a slightly larger liability on the betting exchange to execute, which is exactly why we couldn't do it back on day 1. Essentially, the bookmaker is offering to pay you out if your horse finishes in, say, 4th or 5th place, but the exchange only covers up to 3rd place. If your horse lands right in that unhedged sweet spot, you capture massive value. Just hitting a few of these can easily generate $75 to $200 a day in pure upside, completely mathematically engineered. With a balance now steadily climbing from 600 to the 950-pound mark, we really start firing on multiple cylinders. We aren't just doing extra places anymore, we're utilizing promotions like best odds guaranteed and price boosts. The absolute beauty of these offers is that we risk nothing extra to participate. If the market drifts and the odds increase, the bookmaker pays us out at the higher price while our lay bet on the exchange remains totally fixed. It's basically a free lottery ticket built right on top of a risk-free trade. All right, Section 4, Days 6 and 7, maximum upside, exploiting the 2-up loophole. We've reached the point where our bankroll has crossed that 1,000-pound threshold and is finally large enough to attack the maximum upside opportunities, specifically in football. We are going to specifically target the 2-up promotion. This is a massive marketing offer where a bookmaker actually agrees to settle your bet as an immediate winner the second your team goes 2 goals ahead, completely regardless of how the match actually ends. We're looking for matches where a team is strong enough to build a quick lead, but their starting odds still offer solid mathematical value so we can keep our initial risk low. Let's look at a concrete example from our source material featuring a match between the USA and Paraguay. By placing a 100-pound back bet on the USA to win at the bookmaker and simultaneously laying them on the betting exchange, we create a tiny, fixed liability of just £3.67. So before the match even kicks off, we have total peace of mind. Just looking at the math here, no matter what happens on the pitch, whether the USA wins, it's a draw, or Paraguay pulls off some massive upset, our absolute maximum downside is strictly capped at that $3.67. This tiny loss is simply the cheap cost of entry for accessing this highly lucrative mathematical loophole. Now, let's watch the loophole activate in real time. 7 minutes in, boom, the USA scores. Midway through the first half, the USA scores again. The moment the USA goes 2 goals up, the bookmaker's early payout is instantly triggered. They just drop our 110 profit right into our account. But remember, our lay bet on the exchange against the USA is still active because the final whistle hasn't blown yet. This means the 2 platforms are temporarily operating completely independently of each other, and we are holding a massive position of value. And this brings us to a really critical crossroads. Because we're acting as analytical traders and not gamblers, we face a major decision right here. Do we just let the exchange bet run, cross our fingers and hope Paraguay mounts a miracle comeback to win us over 200 pounds? Or do we take control of the situation and lock in the mathematical value immediately? Well, the answer is we choose to lock it in. We do this by placing a third in-play hedge bet on the exchange. In this specific case, 140 pounds on the USA. By placing this single hedge bet, we mathematically convert 3 totally unpredictable football outcomes into one identical, guaranteed 66.33 profit. We've literally engineered a scenario where the final score of the match no longer matters whatsoever. Which leads us to Section 5, Math Overlook, eliminating the guesswork. Let's see how all of this logically builds into the ultimate paradigm shift for viewing sports markets. It is definitely time to entirely change how we perceive risk. Compare our mathematical execution to a standard punter. As highlighted in one of our sources, a traditional bettor spends the time blindly hoping a specific player scores, or guessing that Argentina will somehow score over 1.5 goals against Egypt, or crossing their fingers that Colombia edges out Switzerland based on, team form. That is an entirely different universe of risk. The builder isn't guessing. The builder is using matched odds to engineer a guaranteed 66.33 profit before the game even reaches halftime. So what you should really take away from this explainer is the escalator principle. It's all about starting small with that initial 200 pounds, methodically harvesting bonuses to remove the bottleneck of a low balance, and gradually escalating your strategies. Eventually, you're leveraging a 1,500-plus bankroll to fund highly lucrative, low-liability trades like that 2-up loophole we just saw, all while your actual money remains completely protected on all sides. So I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder. Once you understand the mechanics of this 7-day bankroll build, if you can use basic math and strategic capital deployment to engineer guaranteed profits from temporary market loopholes, why would you ever leave your financial growth in any side hustle up to chance? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope it completely changes how you view risk and reward.